On this episode of Deleted WrestleZone, we're going to talk about AEW's latest pay-per-view. It's been nearly 1 year since Double or Nothing first came out as their first official show, and now we got another Double or Nothing this year. So we're going to review everything from start to finish, so get ready to watch another episode of Deleted WrestleZone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted WrestleZone. I am J-Rod here, the host of this thing. We talk about pro wrestling from any forms, from promotions like AEW, NXT, New Japan, many more. We talk about matches, we talk about wrestlers, anything that we can find, give you guys some great content. So let's talk about AEW's latest pay-per-view. Double or Nothing is now in the history books. Again, great show. I loved it. I wasn't sure what to expect now, since you all heard that we've been still dealing with the whole pandemic where there was no crowds, but this time there's been less crowds. As always, we have wrestlers on both sides. We saw guests on two corners of the ring, which is much easier. And of course, we saw some familiar faces that were there. If you must know, if you guys did saw Double or Nothing, you did saw who you saw. Excuse me! She was right there. She even admitted. But it's great. But let's start from all of Double or Nothing from start to finish. It started out with the casino ladder match. Now this is something different from the previous year. Now if you recall, last year they had the casino battle royale where five wrestlers start in the ring, and then 2 minutes later another deck of cards will show up, like the king, the hearts, the diamonds, the spades, you know, and then there's the Joker card, which is the wild card. But this time, instead of that, they decided to go with 9 participants. Now they already been announced. We had SCU members, Scorpio Sky, Kazarian, Ray Phoenix, Orange Cassidy, Luchasaurus, Kip Sabian, and who else? Oh, I think I said Orange Cassidy. Yeah, Orange Cassidy, Cole Cabana, but also and Darby Allin, and a mystery participant. Now that mystery participant will get to the revealing. But before I start on that, just to remind you, uh, what was it? Ray Phoenix was originally supposed to be in this match, but due to what happened on last Wednesday's Dynamite, he got injured through a mistake that was not conducted. Apparently, nobody catched him, and it was real hard. So it was decided that he was pulled from this match and replaced by Joey Janela. So let's get started with it. So it started out with both SCU members, Sky and Kazarian. Now, keep in mind, they started out with these two wrestlers there. Now, one of them can, if either one can pull off the giant poker chip that was up in the upper, the match is over. It's just simple as that. But little by little, every 90 seconds, we get new participants. So it started out with those two. And then we had the next participant who come in was Kip Sabian. So, as always, he brought Penelope Ford, even though there's that. But at the same time, Kip Sabian had his buddy, his little British buddy, Jimmy Havoc, as always, try to ensure that they win. Then here comes another person that comes in, and that is Darby Allin. So it was interesting, and Darby really impressed me with everything. If you guys saw what he did, he jumped off the damn ladder with the skateboard and landed on his feet on the ladder that nearly tried to take out Kazarian. That was insane. I'm like, damn. Then we had Orange Cassidy. Now this one was the most hilarious entrance ever. He, according to what Jim Ross said, Tony Khan had to explain him at least 200 times about how to win this match. He's trying to reach the poker chip doing this. Then he tried to get on top of the ladder. Basically, he was too lazy to open the ladder and climb up. So basically, that was like the most craziest, funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, hands down, one of the funniest. And then we had boom, boom, Colt Cabana, boom, boom. And then after that, we had Joe Janela, Luchasaurus. But here is the mystery participant. Now, there were rumors speculating this individual. For a while, we knew he was a free agent. And the person that turned out to be was none other than Brian Cage. And it was one, I have to say, he is right now going to do great things in AEW. And the surprising part is that Taz, accordingly, was by his side. Now, you ask yourself, how did that happen? How did Taz and Brian Cage knew each other? Now, if you guys are fans of Impact Wrestling, you should know there was a gut check series going on. He and Brian Cage and Joey Ryan were both there together. Um, Taz has always been a big supporter of Brian Cage, and Taz was not a fan of Joey Ryan. So basically, I think they are going to use that relationship and somehow incorporate it into their story more. But man, one thing with Brian Cage, the way they introduced him, he was the bigger threat in the match. So everyone knew, okay, they need to get rid of Brian Cage. They need to remove him somehow because he's the much bigger threat than everyone else. So they took him out. They stacked him with chairs, ladders, bike rail, a giant poker chip that was down by the heel side. I thought that was impressive. But of course, at some point, he got out and he took out everyone. I mean, everyone. And he picked up the poker chip. So he gets a future title shot. And that title shot will take place at Fyter Fest. Now, not a whole lot has been revealed. Now, if you must know, Fyter Fest was originally supposed to take place in London. But since we're still dealing with the whole pandemic, it's not going to happen. But more details will come in place. Tony Khan did mention that on the post match to inform what's going to happen. So we will pay attention. Hopefully they announce it more this Wednesday's Dynamite. Now, the next match was one that kind of was very thought of. It's MJF versus Jungle Boy. I have to say there was a lot of things that I didn't know, but I felt like it was a good match. Some people were calling this match an old school style match. Some people compared this match to Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man Randy Savage. And, I didn't even notice that. But according to Tony Khan, he said, yeah, he didn't notice it. It felt that way. And I think it's because, thing is, you got to remember, sure, there's some new things we can put into the wrestling world as always. But sometimes we can appreciate the old school way because it's always been part of the history. And it was a darn good match. I think this is one of those matches that might have stole the night. But there was no funny business with MJF. He took Jungle Boy to the max. I personally love this match, how it went. It was amazing. I enjoyed it. I hope there's more rivalries between the two because they're both similar. Because I feel that this could be a good rivalry to continue. Now, we can say maybe in months to come by they can face off each other, but we'll just wait and see what's going to happen. So MJF took the win on this one. Now, the next match was the final of the TNT Champion Tournament, and this one was presented by none other than Mike Tyson. Now, as soon as he comes out with the title, it was interesting. I like the plate and all that. As soon as they started introducing every wrestler, here comes Lance Archer with some guy and slammed them, and Mike Tyson's like, huh? Like, he had that look on his face, like, I didn't thought of that. And of course, it was so interesting. And then here comes Cody with all that. Anderson, as always, both coaches on both opposite sides. But this one was one of those matches where it was brutal instead, Like, Lance Archer tried to find a way to beat Cody fast as possible. But, Cody wasn't going to let Lance Archer try to beat him. Because this is important to him. If you guys remember, he is unable to compete for the AEW World title thanks to Jericho. or should I say MJF, as always. But I have to say the way this match went was unbelievable. I enjoyed it. And of course, I love the moment where Arn Anderson got into Lance Archer's face and hit him and landed on his, you know, groin on the turnbuckle. Another ref shows up, tells Rick Knox I think it was Bryce or Rick, I don't know, I can't remember, but told him, and Mike said, "Yep, it was him." As soon as Lance Archer came, tried to take out Cody, Jake left and he brought back a snake with him, but he didn't see him. He was being blocked off by Mike Tyson. Like, he did not want him to bring out the snake, and Archer did not appreciate Mike Tyson getting in his way. But it took at least two crossroads to take out the big guy, and Cody became initially the first ever TNT Championship. Now, people can say this now about Cody winning this title, this mid card title. Cody can make this title more prestigious because that's something that is important these days for champions. WWE are not well known to keep these titles prestigious. It's just like you win it, that's it, you're the champion. But how do you make it legit? That's something we have talked about, and I think Cody is the right choice because we can say he can actually make this title mean something, something that is important. That's always been one of those things that is important these days, and WWE hasn't done that in a long time. So I'm happy with the results on this one. So Cody is the first champion. Now the next match, well, before we start, it's originally it was supposed to be Penelope Ford versus no Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander. But if you saw the last Dynamite show, Britt Baker injured herself, and according to what they're saying, she had a torn ACL. It's still unclear how long she's going to be out, but the doctor on the scene said that Britt will give the proper announcement this coming Wednesday. So while Britt's out, they replaced her with Penelope Ford. I think this was a great opportunity for her to step up. I know they're trying to push more women to the top, and this was something interesting. And of course, when she came out, here comes Kip Sabian, all bandaged up, so after a brutal match he had at the casino ladder match. But it was great. I loved it. It was so intense, Of course, not like this one. Like, you always suspect Kip Sabian tried to ensure his girlfriend wins. This is something that Colt Cabana has always talked about. But it didn't happen that way. Chris Statlander took both of them out. Did a tope suicida, which was great. Chris Statlander, in my opinion, is one of the best right now too. I think behind Hikaru Shida. But it was a great match, and Chris Statlander pick up the win. I'm loving this. I enjoyed every match that they put out. Now the next match, this one started out more of the Shawn Spears news, still mocking about Shawn still has those issues towards Cody about what a lousy piece of crap he is, that he's not the man he is, that he allowed Dustin to get his life destroyed thanks to Lance Archer, that he did not throw in the towel. Now, Cody was asking him, "Do you want me to do this?" And Dustin said no, he did not want him. So basically, Shawn is trying to say, Cody is a hypocrite. You destroyed a man's career. It's over thanks to you because of your arrogance. Now, he fooled everyone believing that Dustin was there. He set up himself a match. And then all of a sudden, the music pops up. I was like, "Hey, guys, can you... I said one time." And here comes Brandy, but out of nowhere, here comes Dustin. So basically, Shawn, word did not work. He really should have kept his mouth shut. But it turned out to a match, and at certain key points throughout the match, Dustin was taking off Shawn's clothes and all that. It was so hilarious. I just enjoyed it. There was a moment he was in his underwear. He grabbed them. You can see his crack, and he just spanked them. And then by the time he got away, you see something you did not expect. You see Tully Blanchard's face on his underwear right in front of the front bar. And I'm like, what the? I thought that was the most hilarious moment. I'm like thinking, I wonder what Tully's thinking right now. Thought it was so funny. But of course, Dustin won this, and he's back with a vengeance. But I'm hope we can see him and QT, the Natural Nightmares, take over the tag team division. I can't wait to see that more. So Dustin won this match. Now, this next match, um, this one was more like a long time in writing. As you all know, the women's division has been lacking for a while now. Originally, Rio was the first ever AEW Women's World Champion. Then Nyla Rose beat her early this year for that title. And now, Nyla Rose became the champion. So the rivalry between her and Hikaru Shida is now being. It was so amazing. This one was a no DQ match. This is where all the both women went all balls to the wall on this particular match. I was like, dang, they were throwing each other, beating each other, kendo sticks through tables, chairs, everything. I'm like, dang. But Hikaru was like the one. It was more like the David versus Goliath type of match. But Hikaru Shida was like the one who's like, how do I say this? Refuses to stay down. Like she's determined to beat Nyla Rose. But she did state in an interview that she beat women like Aja Kong, and it makes no difference for her about Nyla. I mean, I have to say she's right. What difference does it make? If she was able to beat Aja Kong, there's always a way to beat someone like Nyla, and it was great. And I enjoyed every match, but my favorite moment is where she grabbed the kendo stick and whacked her right in the head. And so Hikaru, she knew that may not be enough, so she gave her that her finishing move right in the face with the knee, and she picked up the victory. It was the most amazing. I've always did stated that Hikaru Shida should be the one as champion right now, and I was happy with that result. I think it makes more sense. But let me pause this for a little bit. While this whole thing with Hikaru Shida winning happening, got to move pro wrestling, um, which is run by Emi Sakura, who was in fact Hikaru Shida's mentor, also Rio's mentor, was watching the entire pay-per-view where she's living at. And at the same time, when Hikaru Shida picked up the victory, she got so emotional. She was crying that she can't believe that her own student was able to win the title. And I think she's always been proud of her that she has accomplished where she needed to be. But at the same time, Excalibur did stated something that it makes sense because, as you all know, the Japanese wrestling world lost a who people say is the sweetest person on earth, Hana Kimura, and this is a moment that Hikaru Shida should honor her, knowing that this belt, that win, is dedicated to her, knowing that she was just so young. She was 22. That she didn't deserve what she was happening. But this is a great moment, and I know many of the Japanese wrestling women down there would be proud of Hikaru Shida that she honored someone like her. Now, I still don't know if they ever crossed paths before she signed with AEW, but I have to say Hikaru Shida, I would like to see her more as a long-term champion because she has been one of those champions, those wrestlers that I love watching. So she's personally one of my favorites to watch. So I'm glad that match. Now the next match we go, it's the World Championship title between Brody Lee and John Moxley. This match was like another match that you didn't know what to expect. Like every moment I saw in this match, Brody Lee refuses to stay down. Like he was more determined to ensure he wins that title because he feels that title is what he wants, is what he needs, what he desires. But John Moxley, he doesn't back down from a fight. But when you piss him off, taking his property, he is not a happy camper. But it took, I don't know how many paradigm shift moves to take him down. But I think there were moments where ref was checking on both when they're like either outside the ring. Like the moment where um, Brody was about to maybe power bomb him through the table where the bell is, and he got pushed over, and it was like there there were times they were checking on both wrestlers to see if they were okay. It was like another brutal match, even though it was like it wasn't a hardcore match or anything, but it was like like a type of street fight match, but it was insane. And wow. But my favorite moment is when Moxley put Brody through a paradigm shift through the wooded ramp area. It was like so insane. I'm like, dang, you don't know what to expect. It was like, here comes Moxley, like he's okay. Maybe he thinks he took out Brody, but it didn't. It took many times over for Moxley to put Brody Lee out with the paradigm shift, but he decided to use an unorthodox move that he's been training. He put him in a headlock, in the sleeper hold, and it took a while for him until his left hand just dropped that, and referee called it. It was already over. So Moxley retained the title, and then he got his title back. So he is remained as the champion for this. So great match. Now let's talk about the real interesting match, the wildest, wackiest match ever. The first ever Stadium Stampede match between the Elite and the Inner Circle. Now, both sides came out. The Inner Circle all came out in football pads and all this and that, while the Elite comes out in their wrestling gear, but only 4 of the 5 showed up. Hangman wasn't there, so it was like a 4-on-5 disadvantage type. And it kind of felt like you've seen those movies where there's one kingdom here, another kingdom here, and they collide, and it turned out that way. And it was fun. I think I was enjoying it. And then there was a moment where we see Sammy. He was like already dazed out. He sees Hangman Page on a horse. Yes, on a horse. He made an entrance. And he chased him down on a horse. It was so hilarious how that turned out. And I was like laughing so hard with the horse. I just cannot imagine. And the craziest thing I seen is Matt jumping off the goalpost on the end zone and landed on Jericho and his brother Nick and Sammy, and it was so insane. I think it was like 12 feet or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was dang. And then we see Hangman still on a horse looking for Sammy. He unaware that he somehow snuck back on the field. It was so hilarious. He's like, Sammy! So he's like, still kept looking for him. So he just has no clue. He already somehow, how do I say, diverted him, and he just snuck back into the field. Then we see, after that, he gets off his horse and goes to a bar. He tells the horse, stay. So that's what happened. Then we go to, while everybody goes their separate ways, because the thing is, I don't know how many cameras they had. I do know they had 4 refs. They were separate in different ways. You see Proud and Powerful fighting off against Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. But the best moment I saw when they were there is when Matt got tossed in the pool by Santana Ortiz. Now, while Santana was enjoying trying to hurt him, he tells Ortiz to get in the pool with him. He's like, no, I can't swim. What? I can't swim. Don't be a pendejo. Get in here. So it was so hilarious that it's only 3 feet of water. It won't drown you. I thought it was too hilarious. But the moment they were trying to drown Matt, he transformed. It became like what people are calling it, the pool of incarnation. So he rises up as version 1 of Matt Hardy. And they take him out, and then they try to drown him, but it's the moment he was drowning, he's doing this on the pool, like. And then they see that matter of fact. He's like, huh? Matter of fact. 3:46 seconds. And he jump out in this other suit, and then they try to drown him. He's like, they left him lifeless there, and then he just guts up like something out of a monster horror film, and he tosses both Santana and Ortiz in the pool. Ortiz was being like that dramatic person. You see those movies where I can't swim. He's like splashing around trying to get out, even though it's 3 feet of water. You know. So as soon as he gets Ortiz, he puts him into a table for revenge again for what they did to Vanguard. He tosses Santana over him, and he landed. And now, this is the best moment here from Matt on this one. He grabs Ortiz, puts him right in the bell, saying, "I'll just ring your bells." And boom, he just like, and he puts him in a wheelchair, as he calls it, the wheel of chairs. Doug takes him and saying that he's giving him a description. So he says, take one of these every day. Take one of these and call me in the morning. So he just left him there while he was dealing with Santana. So there was a moment he was about to do like sort of like a what was it, like a toss to Hardy to the ice maker or the freezer or whatever it was. But Matt Hardy was able to divert that and tosses Santana in, and he just tells him, this will help with the inflammation." But of course JR said, "Cool down, my friend." So it was so hilarious that happened. So basically he was already out. Now, while that happened, Hagar was looking for Hangman Page. So he's like finding out where he was. He sees the horse. He's like, okay, here's the horse. Where's Page? And that's when he sees, oh, so he's in the bar. As always, Hangman was down there having a drink, and he was just has no interest in getting a fight. But of course, Hagar wanted to beat him up no matter what. So he did one of those slide him down the end of the table, power bombs him through a table, but nothing works. And here comes Kenny, tried to saving his, Page's life. He whacks him with a bottle of the bubbly. It didn't work, and then Hangman gives him another. Now, the more they were whacking him with the bottles, it was like he was being disoriented. Like, how many bottles it take to break a man? I don't know. And then once they were able to get him disoriented enough, Kenny applied the V trigger onto him, and then he had Hangman do the buckshot lariat right him. And right from the moment they toss him over the bar, Hangman goes to the bar, pulls out 2 cups, a bottle of whiskey, and a carton of milk. Even though Kenny doesn't drink, Hangman serves Kenny a glass of milk, while Kenny serves him a glass of whiskey. So, perfect way to end that segment. Now, when this was done, you go straight to the Bucks, and along with Jericho and Sammy. Now, one of the best, craziest moments is when Matt Jackson, he had him in that famous move that he puts. He goes to the end of the field. While that was happening, Nick was dealing with Jericho. There was a moment he throws the football right on his nuts, and then the moment that happened, he tries to throw Jericho inside the mouth of the Jaguar, but Jericho turned that and tossed him. And here comes Jackson DeVille, the mascot of the Jaguars, and surprise, Jericho gives him the Judas effect, and then Nick super kicks him, and it became a field goal. And Aubrey Edwards was like having fun with this because it became more like something out of a Globetrotters. You probably seen those that segment where they transform into football. That kind of became that it. And there was a moment where he grabs out Floyd, he knocks him out, and then apparently he thought that it was a 3 count, but he got out at 2. But apparently he asked for a replay, and they go to the room where the camera. Now, while that was happening, Matt still was working on that little move with Sammy, and it was actually a 2 count. Now, back to Matt Jackson and Sammy. He got to the end zone. He was having a little celebration, but Rick Knox gives him the flag, and Matt super kicks him. Sorry, Knox. So that was so hilarious. And then um, Jericho's trying to take out Nick, but here comes Matt, and here then when they took out they took out Jericho when Nick goes up the stairs and he runs down and jumps right on top of Jericho. It was awesome. But the best moment, here comes Paige with the line marker, the types that they use when they chalk up the field. He actually chalked up Jericho right in the middle, right straight from the crotch and then to the face. And while that happened, Sammy is still disoriented about what just happened to him. So he had no clue where he was until the sprinklers. And Jim Ross made an excellent comment saying, "Poor bastard. He can't catch a break." And I'm like, true, he can't. Now, Sammy wakes up thinking that the inner circle won, that he's the last man standing. But out of the blue, deja vu has come back. Here comes Matt Hardy and Kenny with the golf cart. And Kenny goes, round two. So if you recall, he got run over by a golf cart thanks to those two. And Sammy was able. But the best part, Bryce, the ref, was sprinting right there to catch up to them. But it was, I thought it was so hilarious, Bryce sprinting trying to catch up to them. It was so hilarious. I enjoyed it. And right after that, out of the bat, Sammy was able to divert them. So he's like running around and he's trying to avoid the Elite. But he was still being pursued by both Matt Hardy and Kenny. And as soon as he sees Hangman and the Bucks, he tosses the chairs. But here comes Kenny and Hardy. But the moment they get to this one area, he tries to take them both out. But there was a moment where he grabs Matt Hardy. He tells, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you." And then we see like a drone out of nowhere. We're like, wait a minute. Vanguard 1 is destroyed. Who is this? And then turns out like an upgrade version of Vanguard 1. And Excalibur calls him the natural electrical organism. And that's an acronym. That's for call sign of Neo 1. And it was hilarious. And then once Sammy was distracted, here comes Kenny, gives him a V trigger, and then he puts him into the one-winged angel and jumped right at the edge onto the bottom of this little wooded, I don't know what it was. And the match won straight through and through on this one. It was amazing. I love it. And the Elite won the match. Now, some people can say that this is one of those matches that was very entertaining. I have to say it was entertaining. I enjoyed every moment of it. I enjoyed everything that happened to this. And do we need more matches like this? Yeah, I think it's because we need to keep people entertained. But people do compare this match to what WWE did, with the Boneyard, the Funhouse match, and what was it? The Last Ride. I mean, there are some similarities, but if you look at the camera angles, how they were set up, it doesn't sound like it. But we'll get to that at some point. But I give this match thumbs up. I love it. So I can't wait to see what's gonna happen this week in the aftermath with now Sheeta as the new women's champion. What is Jericho's comments over the loss to the Elite, even though he keeps saying that the Elite are a bunch of dipshits. I don't know. So I can't wait to see that Brian Cage is the champion, the winner of the chip. What's going to happen now? So we got to wait to see what's going to happen. So let's just wait till Wednesday. So I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.